My name is Larissa Lamb, and the name of my department is On the Way Up Ministries. I've been in ACT department for over 20 years, and the reason I ended up joining ACT was when I was starting out doing music ministry, I was trying to get people to pay me honorariums. And a lot of times they thought, oh, I was selling CDs or doing other things, and that's how I was earning my money. And then when I went to churches and I said, hey, would I be able to raise some support like a missionary to do some of these events that I'm doing, my church said, unfortunately, we only support missionaries that do church planting. So I had no vehicle to do independent fundraising. And the telltale sign of kind of the struggle of an artist doing this full-time as ministry is I was invited once to do Billy Graham's Last Crusade, where they had a youth event in New York. And they were offering me $200 to go do this event, which being in LA to New York wouldn't even cover my airfare. And so I hated to say no. And so for me, it was really important to find a vehicle that I would be able to raise support, to be able for me to say yes to a lot of these ministry opportunities that unfortunately, because of finances, I had to turn down. And so I'm really grateful for having ACT being there as a vehicle to do that, but also for the ministry and prayer support that they offer. One of the things that has really been encouraging as far as my ministry is in my efforts to mobilize and mentor young artists. And so I have done a lot of speaking over the years at missions conferences, at churches. And one thing is that I get is traveling all over the country, whether it's in Chicago or Houston. I think of two people that come to mind. I've had people that didn't think people would existed like me. They thought they were the only ones that thought of arts as mission. And I would go and I would speak to them and encourage them, and they're like, wow, arts can be a mission field, and yes. And I shared with them my example of being a missionary in Hollywood, and they're like, oh my gosh, I want to do that too. And so I've actually had people move out to LA and become missionaries here as a result of me speaking. And so that's been really satisfying, is being able to pour into other artists, whether they're young or old, who maybe never thought of arts as missions or never had that affirmation from someone else, and that God has kind of brought me in, God has brought me into many people's lives to affirm that calling and to encourage them. I think my biggest need as a ministry is always going to be in funding and getting additional supporters. And the other area is, I think, personnel. I think as we're expanding our ministry, my husband, Baldwin, and I are finding, we're limited in so much time. And so that's where the funding comes in to help maybe hire somebody part-time to handle things like social media, which is kind of an essential part of ministries nowadays, or website building, or even volunteers or people to help us with maintaining the website and other things that we need to have happen, or even we do a podcast to be able to edit that. And so there's a lot of things that I think moving forward in terms of financing, funding, fundraising, and definitely personnel.